The Grind Waterfowl TV is brought to you by Dakota Decoy, premium gunning decoys for demanding hunters. Lucky Duck, masters of deception. Kent Cartridge, quality matters and performance counts. Mud Buddy, the king of mud motors. Excel, the boat to own. Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy, the most accessible online retriever training program. Yoder Smokers, handcrafted in the heartland. Rig 'em Right Waterfowl, the industry leader in specialty waterfowl products. OnX Hunt, know where you stand. Benelli, simply perfect. Cowboy's Wild Game Washer, as clean as you can get 'em. And these fine sponsors.
This week on The Grind, Bill and Luke have traveled north from Oklahoma to Kansas to meet up with Wade Skeen of Skeen Gun Dogs and Outfitters. Joining the Grind crew are Josh and Keith from Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy with their dog, Violet. With a full season under Violet's belt, everyone is excited to see the improvement she has made and meet back up on the Arkansas River to shoot some green.
I started waterfowl hunting when I was about 10, so I'm 30 years now. Not as much when I was younger. We grew up doing more archery hunting for deer and turkey hunting and stuff like that. When we moved here to Kansas, and I found out how accessible it was here and how many birds we had, and decided to start doing that a lot more, and hadn't bought a deer tag in about 8 years now.
As we were driving up from Oklahoma, we ran into some tough weather, slowed us down quite a bit, so we didn't get there quite in time. We wanted to get here a little before sunset so we might be able to do some scouting with Wade, but the snow slowed us down, so we got into the lodge. It was after dark, and the boys had been out scouting hard, and I was kind of hoping we'd go to the river. I'm an old river rat, and it reminds me of the Missouri River. So they had options. They had a nice little farm pond we could go to, or the river. And we all sat there and talked, and with Violet being along, and since it was her first river duck hunt last year, we thought, let's go to the river. Well, we're back in southern Kansas with Wade Skeen and Skeen Outfitting, and we've got Josh and Keith with us from Cornerstone Gun Dog Academy. It's our second hunt with them. We've got Violet with us, the star of 52 plus. We were here last year for her first river hunt. It was pretty fun watching her learn how to maneuver the current and how to handle the river. She's 3 years old. She just turned 2 last year when we were here. She's a little firecracker. So excited to hunt with her again. But we're back on the river. It's been cold. She's got a lot of slush flowing down her. We're in a little different spot than we were last year. We're tucked in a little bit just because of the slush. Last year we were kind of out on a point. So we've got a pile of decoys, which is kind of the same setup we did before. We've got decoys right out in the middle of the river. And ducks love that. They feel safe. Open water is safe for a duck. So going to be cloudy today. It got cold. We had a little snow coming down yesterday coming back up from Oklahoma. But we're pretty excited here to hunt with Josh and Keith and Wade. We got a full crew. Got Luke with us still from Lucky Duck. So we'll see what we can get done here this morning, Skeen Outfitting. Probably need, let's see what the ducks do. Good shot, guys. This is what I like too, Josh. She goes straight back instead of trying to fight up to you. You can't, I mean, that's smart dog is what it is. We just got our first duck in the morning. We really haven't seen ducks yet. A little cold last night, they'll probably move a little later, but we just got our first Drake Mallard. Violet made an excellent retrieve. So I think what's gonna happen is this might take, they're gonna fly, feed this early this morning, and then for the most part, they'll come back and feed them.
So, you know, last year on the grind was pretty awesome and a great experience to share with Bill and with everybody. That was actually Violet's second weekend hunting. She'd only picked up 5 birds in the real world. At that point, we had, you know, fully trained her, but you know, I wouldn't consider her fully finished at that point. And we're still working out some details as we go and really honing her skills in and making her what we want her to be. But really, what I spent most of my time doing over the next year was taking what we had already built, taking, you know, all of those foundational drills, all of the advanced drills, and putting her in different situations. And yeah, that's what we spent a lot of time working on, handling drills, marking, and I felt like that really paid off on the river.
Josh took Violet through our 52 Plus program, and it's been really neat to watch the growth of Violet's experience and her development as a gun dog, and to be able to come out and watch her perform like we expected. It really goes a long way to be able to help just realize the validation of the fact that if you put in the work and you spend the time with your dog and follow a program like 52 Plus or others, that you can get a nice dog out of what you're doing.
I'll keep him here on the strap. The river's flowing slush, and we're up against the shoreline right now just because of the cover we need. I mean, she's slushing up out here, but we're sitting right here and it's kind of pooling around us. So. Good shot, Josh. Great shot. He's dead, too. Great shot. Saving my bullets. There's going to be closer ones. You know, one of the challenges when you're hunting rivers, this river's like the Missouri, it's running probably, I get 5-6 miles an hour. They start slushing up. It's still duck killing places, but man, it's tough running decoys. We've been chasing decoys down the river all day. About lost Luke's new HD. Hey, what is that thing called, Luke? HD what?
Lucky HD floater.
Lucky HD floater. That's been giving me fits. I've chased down this river 3 times already. There's one thing the US dollar is still good for. Getting moisture out of a duck call. Barney Califf taught me this years ago. That paper won't soak up the water, but it'll get it out of your reed, your tone board. So there's what a dollar's still good for. Boys downriver saying they are hammering them up there.
Hey, I'm Josh, and this is your training tip of the episode. You know, as the dog guy or even waterfowl hunters, we all have a ton of gear. You know, it's very important to get the right gear, but one thing that you might not have thought about is a first aid kit as it relates to your dog. I know I personally hadn't thought about that until I was going on a hunt. I actually arrived, I showed up to the place, we got there, it was a little bit late, it was kind of dark, and we're at the lodge. It was a new place I'd never been before. So I was airing my dogs out like usual, and one of my dogs ran into a barbed wire fence, and I heard the dog hit, a little yelp, and then nothing. So we went and checked the dog out. It was good. I thought it was good. Got it up, turned out it had a few different wounds from where that barbed wire kind of ripped them open. I mean, we're talking serious, like that we're gonna have to patch it up. Now, fortunately, someone there had a first aid kit, and we were able to patch the dog up, staple her up, get her ready, get her all the wounds cleaned out, and she was able to continue, and it wasn't ruining the hunt. And if we had not been prepared, we'd have had to go find an emergency vet or something like that, and it could have been a catastrophe. So ever since then, I now make sure that we've got the first aid kit. And my favorite first aid kit is the Retriever Training Supply first aid kit, because it covers basically everything that you as an individual would need to really get your dog to at least stabilize and get them to the next level of care. And I want to show you a couple of things that are my favorite. So come over here and take a look. Out of this medical kit, this is one of the first most important. It's just an emergency bandage. You know, if there's bleeding involved, a lot of times just putting some pressure on, getting that bandage on there, really strapping them up real good is gonna help stop bleeding, you know, if it was serious. Fortunately for my dog, it wasn't serious. It was just a wound and she eventually stopped bleeding. But if it would nick something very important, that could be a game changer, and being able to get pressure on and stop that bleed is super important. Now, this is another thing that's super important. Let's say you get a more minor wound, or honestly, even a big wound, you can staple them up. And this is a stapler that comes with this kit, and that's actually what we used to patch my dog up. We were able to staple her up after cleaning out that wound real good, and it was just a total game changer. So look, the big thing is just make sure you're prepared. This thing is pretty much exactly what you need. You can check it out at retrievertrainingsupply.com. It's what I carry on all my hunts, and I'm very confident that if anything happens, at least to the best of my ability, I'm at least better prepared than showing up without anything. So highly encourage you to do the same, and hope you enjoyed it. Now back to the grind.
So that morning, it was cold, everyone was cold, Wade had gone underwater. You can't have a river hunt without getting somebody wet. Unfortunately, it was Wade, not one of us, but he was cold. The ducks had kind of quit flying. We could see they weren't gonna play with us, so we decided to just call the morning and go do a good, thorough scouting. Wade and I hopped in the truck yesterday afternoon, and I don't know how many miles we put on, but we covered a lot of ground. And we finally, he's got a little area that has a few good roosts on it. So we headed out there, and the ducks, there were some ducks and geese on the roost, but they weren't there, and he was a little bit shocked. So we just kept traveling around, and we popped onto this little farm pond, and it was black. My biggest concern, and Wade and I talked about it quite a bit, was are they roosting on that, or are they using it as a day loaf? You know, are they coming off their roost, hitting this, and then hitting the field, and then maybe popping back in for a drink before they went back to the roost? It's a gamble you take. We'll come in from this side.
Yeah, well, we'll come in down here on the south end, because you see that mound right there?
That's what I thought was an island?
Yep. So what we're gonna try to do is put our blinds out in front of that so that we have that as a backdrop.
Wade got up at 2 this morning and came out here, and fortunately there were no birds on it, so we knew it wasn't the roost. And he dropped an ice eater in just to keep, and there was a little open water, but he wanted a little more open hole. And by the time we got out this morning, it had opened a pretty nice hole up, and it looks really, really good. The birds did not move. It got really cold last night. They had a little bit of snow. I was hoping that snow would kick them into a different mode. Sometimes it does, but they just didn't move. They sat. And my fear is we've got to get on the road. Some guys got planes to catch. This is our last hunt of the year, so we got to get out of here. But they might not come out till about 4:30 this afternoon, which is a late winter mode. And I call them winter mode ducks and geese. They're hard to hunt.
The past 2 years with the drought in the prairie pothole region, we just haven't seen those results. And then you mix that with mild weather and not a lot of snowfall. It's definitely made for some tough early season hunting. Usually we get into the swing of things in January, and even this year in January, we've had some really good hunts. But we've had some tough days in there too. So a lot of time on the road, a lot of scouting. It's been enjoyable, but it definitely probably added a few gray hairs.
This year on the grind, with the drought, this drought goes all through the Midwest, and the prairie pothole country was dry. We started this year in North Dakota, and we'd heard the numbers were down. I'd been communicating with Delta. They say their numbers, who really knows? They were estimating maybe a 30% decline in nesting population. And that very first hunt in North Dakota, we all talked about it. Typically when we're up there, the hunting's good, but even if we aren't shooting them like we like, we drive around and there are ducks everywhere. This year we covered a lot of ground. Saw ducks, but where you'd usually see 5,000, 10,000, we'd see 50. So we talked about it up there. I think the duck numbers were down more than that. That's my personal take on it. And we witnessed it all through our hunts. We've been shooting fully plumaged old ducks all year long. They're smart. The October, November ducks were like January ducks. They were tough. So I know we're shooting old birds. Well, we're going to call it here on our last day with Wade at skiing outfitting, and the birds are going to move. They have not moved. There are so many birds in the county right here that when we scouted last night, they were scattered all over except for this pond, and it was black. We've got to get rolling. Cody has to pick an airplane up. I've got to get back. I've got to get back to my real job. We had a great time here. Wade's a great host, great facilities. It's just been a great trip, and this is the end of my duck season. Kind of sad. But we're leaving the decoys here, so I'm pulling an empty trailer home. So that'll be nice. I won't have to empty that thing when I get home. But get home, get set up for snow geese, get ready to kill that white devil.
Next week on The Grind, Bill and Luke head north to Canada for a spring snow goose hunt with Brian Kramer and Ben Webster of Prairie Limits Outfitters. After a slow end to a tough season, the guys are ready to get things heated up with a few filled limits of Bill's favorite flying critter.